Hello and welcome to the Mindset Nebula, where we discuss all things design, tech, and SAP in the mindset world. My name is Ethan Jewett, and I'm joined today by John Bragg.
How's it going?
Hey, John. Rob Neunschwander, going
Hello,
for my
everybody.
German pronunciation.
Hi, Ethan.
Giving it my best shot.
Yeah, you're practicing up. You're going to be a pro.
I'm getting better. We've got Naveen Rackham.
Hi there.
And Paru Shankar.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
nice
Paru.
to be here again.
So most of us are in our usual locations, but Paru is joining us from a special location. She's traveled to Germany for Oktoberfest. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's happening this year.
Right.
Very disappointing.
They were scared of me arriving. Yes, so I'm in the fatherland from my motherland. So it's great to be here, surrounded by all people SAP. So
Yeah, you're in SAP Central right now, so that's
I'm
awesome.
in SAP Central, yes, saddled between the app house and the SAP headquarters.
Excellent.
Right.
Well, that is awesome. So this week on the Mindset Nebula, we're planning to just discuss some sort of breaking news or important events that are happening in the SAP ecosystem and get the feedback and opinions of the Mindset brain trust here. And so I'm really looking forward to that. Shall we just jump right in? I know, John, this is a topic near and dear to your heart, the partner pay-as-you-go and free tier BTP option. So I guess just in summary, the SAP Business Technology Platform free tier was announced back at, was it at Sapphire? I think it was at Sapphire.
I think so. Yeah.
And it's been sort of rolling out since then, which has been a very welcome change. And now it's available for partners, which was important for a lot of reasons. But there are partners big and small that could use the sort of pay as you go and free tier option. How's it working?
Yeah. So BTP free tier. We've been waiting. We've been waiting a long time to get our hands on a lot of this stuff as partners. I think they announced some of the customer ones a little bit earlier, and good and bad. Obviously, I wrote a blog a while back around the SAP Discovery Center, where you can actually look at the different services and things that you can do in BTP, take little classes, see use cases, things like that. So that's a brilliant website for getting people into the space and getting people excited about it. I think that some of the bad about the rollout of this free tier is they didn't really communicate to partners specifically. They basically, I think it was announced basically on an SAP blog, right? That, oh, hey, it's now available. The interesting thing is I think, and this only happened a couple weeks ago. It was really, really interesting. We've had a HANA Cloud Platform account that changed to an SAP Cloud Platform account that became a BTP Cloud Platform account. So we've had this global account for 5 years now. And 2 weeks ago, there was just a small drop-down option that said, hey, by the way, you have another global account now. And, when we logged in the morning, we had another selection. It was like, wait, what is this? Let's click on this. Oh my God, everything is here. So it was really, really weird in getting into it and getting into the free tier. It did come as another global account. So we might be moving some stuff over internally, as we develop software in the space. But it's awesome. Just in 2 weeks, like the team has been so giddy to just jump into IRPA, the service, to go in and check out CAI as a BTP offering versus just the platform itself, and just to see things really work all together without going through, especially as a partner, I think, all of the licensing headaches that came before from SAP is just amazing. And I think it was the right decision on SAP's part to make it free and to make a free tier and or a pay-as-you-go plan, because they're so worried about adoption. And I think that was a big hindrance before, is going through all the licensing platforms to get that adoption. But yeah, I'll let other people talk. I could talk a long time on just that one.
John, just to pile on to that, right? Many years ago, whenever we want to try a service and cloud platform, then we realized, oh, we didn't have subscription for that. So we have to reach out to our partner, edge person, and then add a new subscription, line item, new invoice, procurement, billing. That whole cycle prevented us from moving an idea quickly to project to
Your
customer.
window of opportunity closed while you were on the phone.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
right? So what I'm hearing from you now is SAP has basically removed those barriers and encouraging partners to take advantage of this free tier and essentially show more value to the customers. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, coming out of this, I see, things like POCs, innovation development, any quick ideas that people have can just be done instead of going through exactly that cycle you said. We were even, up to 2 or 3 months ago, we were going through that same process to try to get, something like the IRPA service added to our BTP account to be able to use this for some use cases that we wanted to build out. So yeah, it's kudos for them finally being able to release.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very interesting you say that, John, because I remember initially in the last months after the IRPA ideas were all coming up, then there was a kind of a slowdown, a deceleration because of all these license-related discussions. And all of a sudden, everything was up and running and ready. So that was very exciting to see how soon it picked up, and also very exciting to see how the team is excited about what next are we going to explore on BTP and what are the next use cases, right? When I talked to the team in Hyderabad, they were really like, Hare Krishna was like, okay, this is coming up now. The next one is going to be this, and the next one is going to be that. So that excitement has come back completely regarding what are we going to do new in this space. So very nice.
Yeah, that sad lull was literally me on the phone trying to talk through the licensing.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and I think customers have the same problems, right? And some of that has been ameliorated by the new licensing option. Some of it was helped out by the previous like sort of dual licensing option, the subscription versus the consumption licensing. But the really key thing is like you got to get the licensing out of the way so that your company and your group and your developers can actually get excited and make stuff without having to run into this roadblock of a totally foreign like licensing discussion that doesn't make any sense to them and is just not how cloud is supposed to work. And so now customers also can make use of this kind of thing, at least to some extent. And hopefully, if you're a customer, hopefully you're looking into sort of unleashing that for your organization.
The other benefit is for a customer in particular, if they're considering some of the capability in BTP, but the company hasn't yet invested, and you have to make a case for it, right? Being able to utilize the free tier to build a quick POC or a pilot proof of concept to demonstrate and let people actually visualize it will be very helpful for making that investment case. Whereas before it's, you're really beholden to PowerPoints and your, skills of persuasion in the hallway to try and help people to understand. So I think there's definitely a use case there for customers to leverage the capabilities and the platform that they can get in the free offering to build that support and excitement for an investment that then might make a substantial difference for them in their production landscape.
Yeah, you do bring up a good point, Rob, because at Mindset, we are pretty flat. If anybody needs something, they know to reach out to John as the overall leader for software to get their queries resolved. But when you look at these big organizations, if there is a developer, he or she, they do not know who is the person who can get them a BTP license, right? So most often they have ideas. There are bright people sitting on the customer side too. There's all these bright ideas, but those ideas never see the light of the day. But by dropping these barriers for innovation or these technology licensing barriers, now everybody has an opportunity to take an idea to completion and just bring that full speed into that, right? So yeah, it's a good observation.
My funny thought about it is perhaps SAP started to realize that every SAP user in the world now has a trial account of their own. and they were starting to think like maybe there's a better way to do this so that absolutely every single SID doesn't have one. Maybe we can just give it to actual customers and partners so everybody is not developing in their own random space.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I think the challenge with the trial account was also not everything was accessible, right? So everybody explored BTP to the extent possible, and then talked everything negative about what is not possible. But now hopefully that will change a little bit, because the full extent of data management plus the analytics and then the integration and then the intelligent technologies all are coming together. So maybe there will be some real use cases that will come out. So I'm happy we are on the front runner page over here, right? So thanks, John.
Yeah. Hey guys, I do want to give a reference. This probably goes back to 1980s. There was a point in the history when those 8085 microprocessors were being developed, right? Like Intel and Motorola were competing with each other. And there was a point in history where Motorola was actually selling way more than Intel. And one of the primary reasons was Motorola had this great developer UI kits to design high quality productive software. So the point I'm making is the more closer SAP can get to the developer community and enable them to create powerful, meaningful applications, the higher the adoption rate could be for the software. So yeah, anyways, long story.
I fully agree.
How long have you been working in this industry, Naveen?
No, I color my hair now and then. I'm a little over 70 now. I read a lot of books, so yeah.
John mentioned earlier the Discovery Center. I think that's a great resource too for people who are kind of wanting to kick the tires of different components in the BTP realm. Mm-hmm. The kind of the missions that they've described out there go into great detail of how you can quickly enable some of these with step-by-step types of instructions. And so I thought that was kind of a brilliant move on their part too, just to help people kind of more quickly come up with a business case that might have some relevance and put it together with a kind of a detailed plan. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree about that. I know at least a few times before the free tier was available, I went to the Discovery Center, and you would click play on one of the missions, and it actually goes through and tries to activate the services for you and tell you what you need in your account. And that's when you run into it and go, oh, now I know what I actually need to do this. Let me go and try and get it. And
that wasn't frustrating at all, was it?
No, but the best part was they actually told you what you needed to do it.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes hard to find. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how about just adding to that idea, right? Like super brilliant software idea, digital assistant for BTP, voice enabled. So you just go into BTP and it starts talking to you like an Alexa, like click here, click there, drop
that's
that.
what CIA is for, right? CIA.
Naveen is giving his wish list now, so.
It is total cool for the developer community.
This is perfect.
You can bootstrap the digital assistant on BTP.
Yeah. Hey, BTP, design a scenario. Connect my SAP to BW, HANA, whatever that is, right? Enable Kafka.
Now you're thinking. Excellent. Well, so I think maybe we should kind of stay on the BTP topic a little bit. There's a new BTP feature. We've got AppGyver. Who knows what AppGyver is? I do, but this is a quiz.
I joined this podcast to learn about the AppGyver. So
all right, who's going to explain it?
I mean, the simplest explanation is it's their low code, no code, service offering to help the citizen developers to gain access to all these cool BTP services and stitch them together in simpler applications that you can deliver in short amount of time without involving IT.
Yeah, it's sort of there's a lot of overlap with MDK in some ways, it seems like. But yeah, AppGyver, they acquired it less than a year ago, I think. And it's a sort of drag and drop visual tool for building both React and React Native applications under the covers, but from the user's perspective, it's just you're building a responsive web application or you're building a responsive mobile application. It's really cool. We've played around with it a fair amount. It's nice. I know Utkarsh on our team has been testing it out. It's cool to see it on BTP. So I think that'll open up some possibilities for customers who either couldn't use MDK or were having trouble with it, or MDK didn't fit a need. I think the AppGyver apps are a little bit more flexible in a lot of ways, which is nice. And now have access to those BTP services.
Oh, nice. One thing I was curious about when reading through, I know they also announced something around just more training, it seemed like, in how to use Fiori tools and get through BAS with Fiori tools with more of the, what was it called? The application generator, I think they were calling it.
Yeah.
And I was curious, like how big of a difference is using AppGyver for more, maybe it's business oriented drag and drop sort of functionality versus going through Fiori tools and generating an app that way? Is it a huge change? Is it just, adding some more easy functionality, or I was curious there.
I think pretty huge. We'll have to get Utkarsh on to talk about this, I think, but because he knows both of those very well. But I think it's a pretty big difference. Where BAS is really a developer tool, and the Fiori tools, they're really developer tools. They have wizards that kind of help you out, but really you're responsible for the code that's generated by those wizards, and you go and modify it and change it and make it do what you want it to do. Whereas AppGyver is much more much less code based and much more sort of no code or low code if you want to really get into it. So
that's really kind of their play in getting into the WYSIWYG editor style of what you see is what you get.
It is, but it's also a play on top of the service enablement that they've done around all of these capabilities, right? And so if you've got conversational AI services, or you have RPA services, or even the business suite offers all these services to get access to the data, that they've exposed all of that now in the plumbing, and they have the kind of the tier that enables you to see those. Being able to call those into a user experience and kind of wire them into controls on a screen, that's the kind of the magical piece. And it's a little bit different, right? Because now you've got a pretty easy access to a wide variety of different functionality that you can play with. But when you think about how much effort had to go into service enabling all of those different components and capabilities, I think the fact that they can take MacGyver and play it on top of there is a pretty cool testament to how far they've come in that space.
I think also, right, in fact, very right, Rob, because it was just in February they announced the acquisition, right? And already the whole aspect of building on the integration, linking up to the integration suite, that is a very powerful statement for all the end-to-end processes that they are promising. And when I think in terms of coming back to the world of RISE, when we talk in terms of the business process orchestration and all those different aspects, it becomes easy even for others to set up all these different integration scenarios, end-to-end scenarios, irrespective of which of the SAP products we are talking about. So wherever there is an integration API available, right? So that also is, they are building up on that integration promise that was made last year. So
great. That is exciting. I'm even more excited now that I've learned all about the integration layer of the AppGyver on BTP piece. So excellent.
I was gonna say Paru joined the podcast to learn, but she just taught all of us about it. So
I know.
There is a heart that beats for integration. Let me put it that way. That's why I even got Peter. So.
Or heard service enablement, and she was like, "Oh, yes."
Well, I haven't played around with as Utkarsh has done, so maybe that is something I will ask Utkarsh to really explore, because there is always a little bit of a skeptic in me to say, how far does it really work? But from what I have seen, it at least the promise is there, and it looks like they have already tried a few scenarios. And as long as it relies on the integration service that is there in the BTP, then linking to the APIs, then at least the standard scenario should be working, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
We're looking forward to getting into it.
I'm missing Yelena.
A little bit of reality that can be injected.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it works when we really start using it. The first challenge, of course, is going to be getting it working on our new free tier pay-as-you-go plan, which I don't think it's quite there yet, but we're eagerly awaiting it, and we'll use it on the trial in the meantime. So Paru jokingly, I think, went to Germany for Oktoberfest, but there's another fest going on, which is the DevToberfest. Might have something to do with Oktoberfest, but this is SAP's sort of celebration of developers that is leading up to TechEd in November. So basically, you can go to developers.sap.com/devtoberfest, or just go to developers.sap.com, and you can read all about it. But more or less every week in October, November, there's going to be a topic and a bunch of exercises and community events. The launch party is the week of October 6th. And then every week after that, there is going to be a particular topic, application development, cloud, security, all that kind of stuff. So would really recommend that everybody go check it out, take a look at it. Even if you're not a developer, it can be a good way to get an overview of what's possible with SAP technologies. Paru, are you as excited about DevToberfest as you were about Oktoberfest?
Even more excited because I saw that it kicks off exactly on the day I'm flying back from Germany to Bangalore. So, but luckily it's not face to face. Otherwise, I would have probably loved to be there. What is very interesting is we always had DCOM at SAP when I was at SAP, where Naveen, you probably remember as well.
I was about to say that. Yeah, I remember the same thing.
Right, where all the developers used to get together, and that was really a kind of celebration, sharing of everything every developer did in SAP. Probably one of the few ones where the internal developers got together and every developer got together, right? So this kind of brought back memories of that, and it's great to see the whole community of developers, because SAP is a universe of developers coming together to celebrate that. So that was the exciting part. And then when I looked at the topics, there are quite a few I can learn from. Again, like I learned about AppGyver. So looking forward to it, Ethan. I am excited. I don't know anything on these new technologies. My last development was in 2005.
If you didn't know that it was an SAP event and that, I guess they sprinkle their name in it here and there, but none of the technologies that they're discussing are really kind of the core SAP technologies that, people were familiar with as shortly as just a few years ago. So it's all about cloud application, development, integration, capabilities, and there's not an ABAP reference anywhere in the whole agenda. So yeah, I didn't see.
No, I think you're right.
I mean, that's a good observation, right? I mean, just recollecting the same thing, Paru, like the DCOM, the developer kickoff meeting, was a celebration platform for all SAP developers. It used to be very similar for like the sales FCOM, field kickoff meeting, right? I remember in Bangalore, we used to hire that whole white field, big the arena right next to SAP Labs. And it was like a 1 week event. You get to know everything latest and greatest. Back in those days, the agenda was learning about NetFever as a stack, like the PI, the BI, the process, and what was the top one? Portal. I guess none of those things are anymore used, but that was all. Everything was ABAP. Everything was pretty much
all the SAP proprietary stuff.
Proprietary, right?
Yeah.
Like what is the latest in debugger? What is the latest in package manager, dependency management? And now you look at the agenda, it's Node.js, some part of cloud and all of that. Just a recollection of how far SAP community has come along in the recent years. I'm super excited for the developers of today because back in those days, we didn't have many technologies to mesh around. Today, they have a lot of options to plumbing and tweaking around. And it's an exciting time for developers.
I actually saw this as a kind of aspiration. 5 years back, what was the aspiration of SAP? Microservices, be outside of SAP technology. And all of a sudden, today you see an agenda with exactly those topics as the talking points, right? John, over to you.
No, that's very true. I was going a totally different direction. That I was just scrolling through the festivities here, and developers that love dogs. October 15th is Dogtoberfest
Also
Day
a core
as a
technology.
Part of so don't let that one get off your radar.
Dogs are very, very important to SAP development.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, just jumping back to part of what you were saying, I think that's totally true. SAP is really going through a transformation in a lot of ways, whether it's moving to sort of more industry standard technologies and really being able to reap the benefits of the technical advancement that we've had, or sharing SAP's internal culture and expertise and sort of, I would say, like dedication to excellence in a lot of ways, in a way that wasn't made accessible to the community and to customers and to independent consultants and that kind of thing before, where 10 years ago, SAP was super closed off. It was very hard to get kind of into SAP, like sometimes somebody would get an invitation to DCOM from outside and it was kind of like, wow, that's amazing, right? And, I mean, I think DCOM is still a thing, right? But more and more SAP is opening up and sharing their expertise with their customer base and really helping, because I don't know, I always say, like, I think the company that knows how to run SAP best is SAP. And until 5 or so years ago, SAP hardly shared anything about how SAP does it. Like, how do you just run an SAP instance if you're SAP? But also SAP development uses containerization for their development systems, but customers don't do that. So, I mean, bringing customers along with this, like, there are a lot of new technologies available now. There are all these BTP technologies. There's cloud, there's Kubernetes and Kaima, there's CAP and Node.js. 99% of customers aren't using any of that stuff, right? So the next step is, I think, starting to open up now. Now we have to bring the customers along to adopt those technologies.
Yeah, they've had that hidden engineering excellence for quite a while. And you're spot on, Ethan. I mean, they just were so reticent to share that with the broader community. And it always kind of baffled me a little bit. In an enterprise, as a consumer of their services, I'd have conversations at Sapphire with people, and I'm like, I know you guys are doing this DevOps stuff in the background. I know you've got these pipelines built, and I know you're containerizing things. Can we just talk to somebody who's doing it so that we can start to learn a little bit how? It's like, yeah, I know if you're ready. I don't think you can handle the truth yet. Come on. So it's really awesome to see that they're doing that.
I wonder how much of that is the German part of we want to be perfect before we expose anything, right? So, I used to face that when they were speaking in English to me. They wouldn't speak in English unless they were 100% sure. Of course, my German was worse, so they've finally forced to speak in English. But it's similar to that. But it also makes me wonder what is cooking inside, and that is maybe the years of conditioning that makes me think, okay, so this much is exposed. What is the exciting thing that is happening inside now, right? So
yeah, I mean, my personal experience, I was part of the technology engineering group in SAP Labs. So I had the opportunity to write a lot of code in the process integration product back in the day. And back in the day, we were heavily using unit testing, and we had a consolidated report which runs like every day. We were asked to release transports, and there was this test-driven development. And this is all 15 years back, right? And when I came to the customer side, nobody does unit testing. Nobody knows how to do test-driven development. Those concepts are not embraced, but SAP was doing it for a long time. It's just now that they're coming with a more open point of view and embracing the community and opening the doors. So yeah, exciting times for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been curious, as we say, becoming more open for SAP was probably a little bit scary for them, but in the past 5 years, as they've done that, I think it's just made sure they stay competitive in the marketplace too. As you see, the AWS world start to explode, and all the cloud wars kind of going on with the three giants there. If SAP wasn't doing this, I'm always almost more curious on what would have happened in that realm if they hadn't gone this direction, if they hadn't tried to integrate with all the other things. That's just that is the new marketplace that we're in, which is it's great. You can choose best of breed for all the different services that you run as a customer, and make sure that you can integrate your SAP landscape with those things if you want to.
Yeah.
Very similar to Microsoft had to do a lot of the same, right? They went from a very closed system to supporting open standards and open source products, and just building a better shell around that to help it integrate.
I was going to use exactly the same example, Rob. I think one of my favorite stories about Microsoft is actually that, I mean, just like SAP, maybe more so, but who knows? They've got so much technical expertise at Microsoft, right? And they build huge systems just like SAP, and they know how to deal with them. And those are really hard problems that a lot of people can learn from. But 10 years ago, when the whole distributed version control system revolution was really in full swing, Microsoft had their Team Foundation server, and they had the for lack of a better word, kind of crappy, not distributed version control system that it ran, that some people still use, but most people now use Git. And Microsoft back then, I think 15 years ago, started a project to say, can we get our Windows development onto Git? And the answer was no, you can't, because it couldn't handle it. But they brought their engineering resources to bear, and they figured out how to make it work. Through contributing back to the project, having a sort of enterprise version for a little bit that they actually merged back in eventually. And they got one of the biggest software projects in the world on Git, and on Git for their Team Foundation server product. And so they had this great story about both, like, this is how you do it, but also we've got this product and you've got no excuse. Like, you don't have a software project that is too complex or too large, because we've got the biggest one in the world and we did it. So it was a great story to be able to tell customers as well. Like, if you want to use the platform for development that we use to build the largest software products in the world for the most customers, you should use ours. And SAP's got kind of a similar story in some ways. Huge company, very complex business, runs SAP, runs hundreds, probably thousands of instances, and they can tell a great story if they tell it, around making that possible and making it happen. And they can basically say to any customer in the world, no, you're not too big, you're not too complex, we can show you how to do it. But they need to do that, and they're doing it more now, but there's a long way to go there.
And they are doing it now to say, we can do it for you, Ethan. So.
That might not be quite the reason I'm looking for, but I guess I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, that, I think, drains our topic list for today. Was there anything else anybody wanted to bring up, topics that we missed?
Yeah. What's the scoop on Ticket?
I don't believe it's actually announced yet. It is going to happen. And if you go to that Devtoberfest page and then scroll all the way to the bottom, you can sign up to be notified when registrations for TechEd open in October sometime, it sounds like. I think there is a date, actually. It's November 16th to 18th. I'd forgotten that the actual date was announced, but the registrations aren't open yet.
Good.
The registration opens in October. Ethan, that's the October date. Yeah.
And if you want one of those hard to get tickets, which I think are infinite this year and virtual, you can sign up to be notified when it opens up.
Whenever you go to TechEd, right, it's always a hit and a miss, because the goodies are sometimes nice, sometimes they're not. But my favorite goodie or swag at SAP Ticket was SAP Ticket T-shirt. I think that was one of my favorite. If SAP does some variation of that, I mean, I'm okay to register with the fees if they give me a nice SAP Ticket T-shirt, and maybe all of us can just dial in into a Zoom conference and do meetup, virtual nerd talk. I mean, the favorite part of Ticket was you just walk around the floor and you run into people and
Mhm.
hey, we met 10 years ago. We worked on this project. What are you doing? What's the coolest thing that you're doing? It's just that personal connection, right? So yeah, I miss that part of Ticket. So,
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be back in person in 2022, but we will see. The virtual is nice because it just opens it up to a lot more people who wouldn't be able to participate otherwise. So there are pluses and minuses, but Naveen, we might have to come up with a t-shirt design ourselves.
let's do that.
It can be
Make
that
it
can be our
happen.
challenge for October.
We have some best
I have a-
designers now. So
Exactly. I have a confession. I've never been to the tech, and I was more the Sapphire crowd. So,
What? Oh,
so I
Ticket
was
is where
very
fun
happy when
happens.
yeah,
Sapphire is
I was very
more
happy.
salesy.
I was very happy when the virtual thing started, so I could actually get to tech it, right? So,
I mean, in all honesty, Ticket happens in Vegas, which is much better than Orlando, to be
Mhm. Agreed.
fair.
well, they tried to
Agreed.
move it to Austin, but that didn't happen. So
Yeah.
Well, Austin would be awesome too. I would vote for that as well. But either one is still better than Orlando. But yeah, it'd be good.
The Las Vegas part for me was the Success Connect and the SAP Insiders, right? So those were all in Las
Mhm,
Vegas. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
So, Edmund, what's the next podcast about?
Yeah. So we've got so SAP has released the SAP Carbon Footprint Solution, which I don't know that much about. But we've got Edmund Manrique, who is heading up our sustainability initiative at Mindset. And our next Mindset Nebula podcast will feature Edmund, and we'll be talking about sustainability and SAP. So would urge everyone to come and listen to that when it hits your podcast feed.
Ethan and John,
That's
just a
exciting.
whisper into your head for next week's our leadership team meeting in Heidelberg. There might be a session where you will get to hear about this.
We'll get a little preview. So
Yeah.
watch my Twitter feed. I will tell you whether the next Mindset Nebula episode will be any good or not. All right.
We're in Oktoberfest. I thought it was Oktoberfest, not a
Not
SAP
a leadership meeting.
Sorry.
It's a mindset leadership meeting with thousands of people attending.
Very empty
Exactly.
tents. Yes. I went to Oktoberfest for 6 hours once. That was quite enough. It is a crazy experience.
Lived in
Have to do
Germany
once.
20 years, never went to Oktoberfest.
Wow, you Oktoberfest, no tech ed, like you just don't go to the fun events, Paru.
No beer, Ethan. So it's all mine.
We got to work on changing that, Paru. We'll take that as the next quarter rock.
Perfect.
Excellent. All right. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining for the Mindset Nebula, and it was a great discussion. And yeah, we'll see you all next time.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you. Bye.